one hand, this investigation is cut and dry, but it's complicated in some others. Police say there is no doubt the former lieutenant governor is the shooter, but what set him off may take a little bit longer to nail down. Though we're learning tonight that mounting marital issues and a pending divorce were fueling years of turmoil inside the Fairfax family home. He was once the second most powerful statewide politician in Virginia. Tonight, he's at the center of a murder-suicide investigation. Fairfax County Police say former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax shot and killed his wife Cerina, a well-known dentist, in the basement of the family's Annandale home. Police say after shooting his wife, Justin then ran upstairs to the primary bedroom and shot himself. The couple and their two teenage children were in the throes of what police describe as a messy divorce.
It all kind of culminated last night when Justin Fairfax shot several times, and killed his wife, ran to a different part of the home, and then killed himself.
According to court documents obtained by News 4, Cerina Fairfax filed for divorce from Justin in 2025. Just last month, the Fairfax County judge granted custody of the children to Cerina and ordered Justin to move out of the home by the end of April. In the custody opinion, a judge wrote, quote, "The wife testified that heavy daily alcohol consumption by the father has become the norm." The court documents say Justin Fairfax spiraled into alcoholism and isolated himself from family involvement following the 2019 sexual assault allegations against him while he was in office. Allegations he denied, but still weighed on him tremendously, the judge wrote.
You saw the thumbnail. It has been making its way through the news. Justin Fairfax, former lieutenant governor from the state of Virginia. This is the tragedy that everybody is reacting to, and it's the murder-suicide case of Justin Fairfax and his wife. There's a whole lot of backstory that I wanted to bring to the forefront because a lot of my audience, we've not been conservative since Jesus was an infant. Many of us are new to the conservative movement. Some of us came in during the 2020 pandemic. Some of us go back decades. But what I wanted to do was bring my audience up to speed to discuss a perspective of this story that a lot of people are not talking about. And that is, what do we think happened with Justin Fairfax that got him to the point where he felt that he had been pushed to the edge and that he needed to not just take his own life, but to leave his children orphaned and take the life of their mother too? And I'm just going to give y'all a full disclosure. A lot of women are not going to like my take on this story. They're just not. I'm not taking up for what Justin Fairfax did. It is heinous and reprehensible for you to take the life of an image bearer. You don't get the right to do that. I don't care how hard life gets, how bad things are, how much or deep down in the depths of despair you've been brought to. But things like this happen not just to unbelievers, but a believer can also be overcome by grief and shame and tragedy and just public and personal humiliation to where they may do something as extreme as take their own life. However, I want to take us back to let's look through aspects of this story that the media is not covering. To be clear, Justin Fairfax is not a Republican. He's not a conservative. Our worldviews don't align. He was a pro-wokety woke, blackety black, leftist as they come. But I want to cover this with fairness because there's an aspect of this story that many of us are ignoring, and that takes us back to 2019. What happened in 2019 to Justin Fairfax that may have put him on a trajectory of checking out of life, alcoholism, not being able to actively participate in family functions and just be a fully present father? I make no excuses for a man who takes a cowardly way out. However, I would be remiss if I didn't say based on the details of everything that has happened leading up to this, I can see how he got here. So I did a little research because there's so many unanswered questions regarding what drove him to this point. And I don't, presume to know all of the answers. I don't know what was going through Justin's mind. I don't know his wife. Right now, I want to pray for the children and just report to my audience a perspective that I think many people are not considering. So, there were two women. First, what I want to do is I want to introduce what happened in 2019. You had two women who publicly accused Justin Fairfax in February of 2019 of sexually assaulting them during his 2004 Democratic National Convention in Boston. So the first one was Vanessa Tyson. She is detailed in a public statement that there was an encounter between the two of them that began with a consensual kiss. Okay? Then she goes, it turned into forced oral sexual activity. Okay? Now, I'm a woman. Okay, I've been a woman my whole life, and I understand y'all gonna be like, April, this is reprehensible. We're supposed to believe all women. How dare you try to re-adjudicate what these women claim they went through in the court of public opinion now that the assailant has been an assailant and has killed his wife and left his children orphaned. I get all that. Two things can be true at the same time. I'm just dealing with what's publicly reported. Me, as a woman, knowing how women are, I struggle to understand how something that begins with a consensual kiss at the DNC National Convention morphs into forced oral sex. Y'all do what y'all want to do with that information. Was it at the threat of a gun? Was it if you don't do this? We're adults here. A consensual kiss becomes forced oral? How? Did you file a police report? Mind you, this allegation came out in 2019. Do you know when this woman said that this happened? She said this happened in 2004. So in 2019, her memory just jogged her memory when this man decided to run for office. But you know what? You remember that time at the DNC convention when we was kissing and then all of a sudden you said I had to go down and do this or else? Yeah, that's essentially what happened. I don't buy it. Not saying it's not true. If it is, I'm sorry that happened. I just struggle to understand. The mechanics of that just don't work for me. I'm a woman. We're adults. How does someone force you to do that at the DNC convention and you don't file a police report? You don't deal with him. I mean, this is the height of the political parties. This is the apex of their year, the DNC convention. You telling me in 2004? Now, me and Justin are the same age. He was 47. Now, I'm black and slow. But in 2004, what year is this? This is 2026. 2004 was 22 years ago. We the same age. That means Justin was 25. Okay? So they're both very young. If she's at the DNC convention, perhaps she's into politics. It's obvious he had politics in his future. She's saying this happened. Okay, fine. Fairfax ends up responding and says, wait a minute, this encounter was consensual. What this shit talking about, right? He says it was consensual and said that she had not expressed discomfort at the time. That happens a lot. Now, sometimes you get amnesia after you've done something and you just like, oh, I feel dirty. Y'all know how it goes. But anyway, a second woman, Meredith Watson, publicly accused Fairfax Days later of the first chick, Vanessa, coming out and says, you know what? I have remembered that time back in 2000, 4 years before you, when I was a student at Duke with Justin. Watson gives an interview to Gayle King and says that, oh yeah, me and Justin were friends. And I just didn't expect this encounter. And, I think this is what she says. She goes, he used knowledge of her prior trauma against her. Fairfax again denies that allegation as well and says, I didn't force myself on this chick. Fine. Now, statistically, I find it unsettling that one man has more than one allegation against him. However, when I look at the details surrounding the facts of when these women decided to come forward, it was a lot of years later after it happened. And this was during the time of the Me Too movement. And hear me clearly, I'm not pretending that every accusation made during the Me Too era was automatically false just because some of them were politically convenient. Not saying that at all. But here's what I am saying. I'm saying that this story exposes something that's deeply broken in our culture. Deeply broken. So these women made these allegations years later. I don't know what jogged their memory. I don't know if they just realized at that moment that Justin had a promising political future and now would be a good time to right this wrong. I don't know. But the biggest problem in this story is that there was no public resolution. They proposed a hearing, and both women said that they would testify. Fairfax is like, good, I want an investigation. But you know what happened? The public never got a real forum. There was no evidence that was ever tested in public. There was no testimony under oath. None of that happened. What does that have to do with today? It has a lot to do with today. But here's what I want to do. I want to show these two clips. I unearthed both of these women sat down with Gayle King and did an interview. Am I saying that these women are not telling the truth? I am saying that their story is suspect to me. Does this absolve Justin of what he did? No, but I am trying to set a precedent of what caused Justin. Justin ain't been right since this happened. The alcoholism, the depression, the mental just strain of his life being ruined. Mind you, I told you he a leftist. I don't like leftists. His politics were trash. It is the principle of the matter here. I am a woman and I want to talk about this because we are seeing in our culture. There's a culture being created where women are incentivized and even encouraged to ruin a man. Just ruin him. Not just in the family court system, but in the court of public opinion. That's what Me Too sparked. And I hated that movement when it came out. And I still hate it and despise it now. Because we have agency in these situations. If you are a woman and you've been assaulted and victimized, it is incumbent upon you. I understand it's hard. And well, what if they don't believe me? Well, what if we do? What if the evidence is there to support your claims? You should be respected, you should be protected, and you should be believed. But I just don't believe all women just because they say it, especially when it's 1,511 years ago. And you just decide now, well, I just, after much prayer and consideration that we should probably say something now. Mm-mm. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. You can't claim to be a strong Black woman and be all empowered. And then when it's time for you to be strong and empowered, all of a sudden you can't muster up the strength to speak up and advocate for yourself. And I know y'all are like, April, that's real harsh. You've never been a victim of violence. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know. But I'm telling you, just like men lie, women lie too. And now we have a family that has been destroyed and decimated. Possibly, I don't know this for a fact. But I'm going to give y'all a timeline. And you're going to be like, you know what? I mean, this man ain't been right since this situation happened. So we're going to get to the interview, but let me just give you a timeline. Let me give you a timeline of what happened. Both of these women went on Gayle King. You know, it's amazing how they get the courage to do a public interview, but they can't manage to find their way to a police department to file a police report at minimum. Like 2004, Justin is 25 years old. Did you get the abuse on record? At minimum, no one will question your credibility if you say, when that happened, I went to the police. I made sure that the abuse was documented because that happened to me and it was real. Did that happen? You at the DNC convention, it's a whole lot of police and Secret Service and all kinds of law enforcement officials. Did you sound the alarm and be like, hey, homeboy got a little bit too rough? Like I was picking up what he was putting down until he tried to put something else somewhere else that I didn't want it to go. I'm like, if someone's assaulting me, or and I'm trying to say this in a very clean, family-friendly way. If a man is trying to assault me with his male appendage and put it in an orifice that's on my face, I got teeth. Somebody got to die that night. And it ain't gonna be me. I can cause way more harm to you than you can harm to me. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? I don't see logistically how that is possible, but whatever.
The court documents say Justin Fairfax spiraled into alcoholism and isolated himself from family involvement following the 2019 sexual assault allegations against him while he was in office. Allegations he denied, but still weighed on him tremendously, the judge wrote.
When I listen to how the media recounts this, obviously, a lot of times these stories are slanted in favor of the woman, but it told us so much. Here's what I will say. They articulated with clarity that 2019 was a breaking point for this man. When these women came out with these allegations, even the judge was like, he never seemed, it weighed very heavy on him. And there's evidence, in my opinion, to support just how much it weighed on him, because typically when a person is deeply depressed and they're unable to gain their footing, they will resort to a vice. So in this instance, it sounded as if it was alcohol. The alcohol was the numbing agent to just get away. I can't deal with this anymore. But not just that. There's some other facts about this that should not be ignored. I did some research because I said, okay, well, what is the media not reporting? The first thing I thought about, okay, if this happened in 2019, the divorce filing takes place in 2025. And I also heard that the judge ordered him to pay some money to the wife. There's another detail where they're separated, but living under the same roof. I said, okay, I get this. I asked myself, I said, has Justin been able to at least be gainfully employed after these allegations? Like, you go from lieutenant governor to possibly being like a formidable contender in the Virginia governor's race. This happens and there's never any resolution. There's no hearing. There's no public testimony. It's just these women said it. I'm done. And now I just got to go into the abyss and pick up the pieces of my life. Well, in 2019, Justin is like, what life? wife now. So I did some research. I said, was Justin working at the time of this murder suicide? And it says, based on reports and court documents from April of 2026, Justin Fairfax was not actively working in a significant capacity during the final stages of his divorce, despite having previously established a private law practice after leaving office in 2022. So he leaves office in 2022, and he's like, okay, well, what is my next move? I've been publicly disgraced and embarrassed. I could try to go into public practice. I am a lawyer, but I mean, how am I going to get clients? Everybody's already decided who I am. Am I saying that Justin Fairfax was not a creep? He may have been. He may have been the creep of all creeps. But that's not the point. The point is, we don't know if he really was a creep because it was never proven that what these women just said was true. All they had to do was just say it. All they had to do was just say it. This man recedes from public life after this situation happened. And divorce filings and court records indicate, regarding his employment situation, in the divorce proceedings, the wife calls him a deadbeat. Now, I'm going to read what's reported, but sometimes I hear these words, but I read what's really being said. It says here that, quote, this is the wife speaking, Justin chose not to be a productive member of the family, and that the term deadbeat was accurate as applied to him, noting that he failed to contribute to household expenses. All right, so this basically says Justin ain't really been working. Now, she's a doctor and she's working. But after these allegations, the depression is hitting Justin, and Justin is struggling to pull himself together. I've never been a man. The weight of manhood and the responsibility of protecting and providing for a family, I don't understand the weight of that. However, I'm trying to put myself in Justin's shoes to try to figure out what is going on in this man's mind that he felt that he needed to kill her and then himself, leaving these children orphaned. Some would argue he's a coward. You ain't gonna get no argument from me there. Probably absolutely a coward. It's a cowardly way out. It's a cowardly way out. However, divorce sucks. Divorces can get so ugly, so contentious. When the woman filed for divorce in this case, and we already know this statistically, most divorces are filed by women. And I already have very controversial views and opinions on women breaking up their homes during these perimenopausal years. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here. They're in their mid-40s. He's 47. She's probably right behind him, which tells me a lot about, okay, hormonally, I know what's going on with her. This couple is going through a rough patch. They've not recovered from what happened in 2019. He's been unable to be really gainfully employed since leaving office in 2022. The wife files for divorce. She like, you ain't pulling your weight. You ain't bringing no money in here. I'm done with you. I'm ready to get a divorce. Now, I'm not saying that's what she said, but typically that's how situations like this go. It also says lack of financial support. Court documents allege that he stopped paying for family necessities, including his share of the mortgage and children's activities, and did not make financial contributions to support his wife and children. You could take that a couple of ways. He may not have had the money to actually do that because maybe he can't get a job. I don't know. Now, I'm of the opinion that a man has to do whatever he has to do to protect and provide. But when you're married to a physician and you like, well, babe, because of this situation, the law practice ain't really bringing in no money. I mean, I'm doing Uber. It's kind of hard to get a job. My name is kind of known in the public square. I could see the pressure to be like, well, you're not pulling your weight. Well, I'm trying. And I get it. The women who hear me are going to be like, you're making excuses for this sorry, no good dude. And the men who hear me are like, y'all just don't know what this man was going through. Men and women are going to view this whole situation very differently. If you're a man and you've ever had a baby pinned on you and you know it wasn't theirs, you know what I'm talking about. Or you had a chick that she's having buyer's remorse or freak nasty regret, and now all of a sudden she want to claim that you touched her, and you like, now you know darn well that is not what it was. Then you know what I'm talking about. And if you are a woman and you in these perimenopausal years just like me, you know we crazy ain't got good sense. We up the day, down the day, over there tomorrow and falling apart the next day after that. We're struggling to manage our misery. Our patience is short. We have very little tolerance for BS. And apart from the Holy Spirit, a lot of women are doing a lot of crazy things, such as breaking up their home because of a temporary rough patch of hard times that they don't have the spiritual fortitude to weather through that storm. So now we're talking about two alleged lost people, two liberals, two Democrats, clearly not rooted in a biblical framework of how to view the changes of life. The way this ended is tragic. You have two children who are orphaned now. The mama at this point was like, look, I'm ready to leave him. I make money. I can support myself. We gonna be good without him. Let him wallow in his sorrows and drink himself to death. That may have been the mindset of the wife. I don't know. But I can see how it could be. And I don't think that's the right attitude to have. But I know a lot of women who think like that, especially the ones who out-earn the men in their lives. If you bringing home the bacon and you're like, all right, it's been 1 year. Now we going on 2 years. And now it's 3 years. And I'm doing this all by myself. Now hear me clearly. I'm in the type of marriage that we don't do this. You're not pulling your weight and your share of the bills. I don't know anything about that kind. When you're one flesh, it's when you're down, I'm down. When you're up, we're up. You going through, I'm going through, because we're one flesh. I wish some chick, listen, we wouldn't always say, I wish some chick would come out the woodwork talking about Robert did this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, well, until you can prove it, I don't know why we're here. I don't even know what we're talking about. You think you're just going to come in and ruin my family's life? And then it's my job as the wife. Hear me clearly. I am sideline quarterbacking this whole situation based on public information and my perspective to how situations typically like this go. If I'm out earning my husband, we good. We're fine. We're gonna be okay. I'm pulling you through it. Them chicks was lying, boo. I know you can't get a job. No law firm wants to touch you. And outside of you Uber eating it and door dashing it, options are very limited. You may have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or the Target to go get you a job. But you know what? It's a job. We're going to be all right. I don't know if she's that kind of wife. I don't know. But that's the kind of wife I am. I'd be like, look, we're just going to figure it out. We'll figure it out. We've been through hard times before. We will get through this. But this man had to deal with accusations that were never substantiated, a whole lot of media amplification, political warfare, just permanent public disgrace. And now he got to deal with a divorce on top of that. Most men would be like, yeah, let me tell you something. Me and Robert have this running joke that if I want to go, I am free to go. But touch them kids and start talking about taking his kids, and I'm gonna be buried in the yard somewhere. We talk about it all the time. Don't touch that man's kids. A man's family is everything to him. And I know in this situation, you're like, well, April, you're saying the man's family is everything, but he kind of checked out on his family. You don't know what this man was going through. Apart from Christ, a strong spiritual grounding to pull him up out of a pit. I'm not saying he didn't love his wife or love his children, but what I'm saying is this situation is so messy and so complicated with the Me Too allegations and the family court system stacked up against you. I can see how things can go left very, very quickly.